Okay, so in this tutorial I will illustrate how you can create a very simple 3D object and create a texture for that object using Photoshop. In this tutorial I will only use one box, create one box, and you can then create any complex object with exactly the same steps. Okay, so after you created a box, convert the box to an editable poly, and to this editable poly add a modifier from the modifier list. This modifier, it's called UVW unwrap UVW. Okay, add the modifier, click it and hit edit here. Edit, this one will appear. Here you have to select all the faces. First select the face mode, sub-object mode from the selection modes. Hit Ctrl A to select all the faces. Now go to tools and uh, actually mapping, flatten mapping. Hit OK, and you can see all the faces of the object unwrapped. Now we can hit the options and see the actual. Let me make it smaller. You can see the actual size is 256 or 256. So you can keep this one or you can change it. But remember, you will always have to use this size. For this one we don't need a high resolution, so we can keep it like this. Now go to tools and click render UVW template. This will help us to create the actual template in Photoshop. Now enter the size that you decided to use for the texture and render. You can see this is just a guide for you later to create the actual texture. Now save it. We can save it somewhere. Doesn't matter where. Okay, save it as PNG and PNG T1, let's say. Okay, and now one other step that we have to do is export this object so we can use it in Photoshop. Now go to export, export selected. Make sure that the object you want to select, you want to export it selected. Now remember, you have to export it as 3D Studio .3ds. It's called it T1. Now let's save it where we saved the other one. Actually, no, it's right here, and it's called. Oh, I totally forgot where I put it. Let me put it directly here. Call it T1. Oh, it's TMP. Save it. Okay, and we're done with 3D Studio Max for now. Now, open Photoshop. Photoshop is now opening. One moment. Okay, now click New. New. The actual size here doesn't really matter, but you have to keep the size low so you don't have any problems when painting on the object. I usually enter the same size as the size of the texture. Okay, now go to 3D. It has to be at least Photoshop CS5. 3D, a new layer from 3D file. Here we go to the location where we saved our files and open the file. Okay, this is simple other, don't worry about it, you will not have it. And now you can rotate your object. In Photoshop CS5 you can rotate it using the K key. Okay, now you can see here in the layers the object, and the last one is the texture. Now let's double click it, and the size, it's maybe not the size that you decided to use, so just go to image and image size, and here you select the size you want to use. Okay, save it, and you can close it for now, and from now on when you double click it here is the size you wanted to use. Now we can open the other file we created, which we will use it as a guide. Copy, create a new layer with your texture and just put it here. For me now it's not positioned correctly because it's a little bit smaller, but it's close enough. Save, and if you go here you can see that some green borders already appear on the object. Now the most fun part, it's the painting. Just select the brush tool and you can paint something on your object. It's just as simple as this. Okay, when you painted your object, you can double click it here. You can see your changes. Just select the guide layer. If you can, in my case I painted on the same, so it doesn't matter anyway. And let's create a new one, and fill it with a white color. So the cube will be white and we'll have some red on it. Okay, and now save this as a JPEG file. Let's go in the same location and JPEG. You can save it as PNG, but sometimes it's not correctly imported. I use JPEG, but it's not such a big difference. You can create any extensions you want. I create these textures to use them later in Unity, and sometimes Unity has problems importing PNG files. I don't know why, but I usually use JPEG from this region. Now, here again you can select whatever parameters you want and save. Okay, and that's it. Now go back to 3D Studio Max and go to the location where you save your texture. Okay, here it is. Now in 3D Studio Max, open Material Editor. You can see your materials list. Okay, and you can just click and drag your texture to a material. This is it. Now assign this material to your object, and you can see that your object is painted. Now if we render this, we have a textured object with the texture we created in Photoshop. And this is it, as simple as this. Thank you.